All right, so Trump just wrapped up his tour in Asia, and we have a lot of things to talk about. Now, I was planning to post on a daily basis, but actually my computer died, and I was struggling to get a new computer up and running for the last week, and so I apologize for some of the delay, but we are good to go because I have a new laptop, I have a new whole setup, and all of that stuff has been transferred, all my data, all of that. So we're good to go. And so I want to thank you guys for the support, first and foremost, for the prayers. I'm alive, I'm doing well, but I'm just so excited right now to talk about some of the stuff that's going on because Trump, my favorite, of course, president, as well as in Korea, where I live right now, there's so much going on, and we have to tie all of this together. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit in separate videos about what the public perspective, the optics of what is public facing, all of that, some of what's going on there, but more importantly, some of the speculation with regards to conspiracy and just what's going on with this whole, operation, the White Hat operation, as you can tell from the title of this video. I'm going to talk a little bit about that first in this video because I realize that not many Anons are speculating on some of these things because maybe it's out of their domain or their comfortable kind of area. But because I've been studying a lot of this stuff, obviously with American politics, but also with some of the Asia politics and what might be happening, I want to talk a little bit about some of that tie Q in there, as well as just other news that's public facing or that's a little bit under the radar. So let's go. Let's talk about it. Let's get into it. Now, I've been listening to all of the speeches and everything that Trump has said, both across all of the countries, but specifically some of the ones where he's referring to military action. Now, one of the mottos that he's been saying for a long time is peace through strength. And if you can kind of clue in on some of the truth posts that he's posting, as well as just the speeches and what he's inferring, he's said a lot of different things. And one of the things that goes over a lot of people's heads is that there is peace, of course. A lot of people are nominating him for the Nobel Peace Prize, as well as just other stuff, but also this posture of war, the Department of War, as well as fighting. And of course, if you know my whole story, as well as many other people, talking about this deep state, the Illuminati, this whole like shadow force, this syndicate, whatever name you want to call it, Illuminati, all of that. This is not a left versus right. It's not a Democrat versus Republican. It is good versus evil. And it's not even like certain countries versus another country. There are certain embedded evil syndicates that have infiltrated every single country, almost every single country in the world, especially in the America with, the three-letter agencies, as well as weaponizing certain things, the political office. And if you want to name drop some of these guys, Trump has mentioned a lot, Hillary, Obama, many of these guys that have been installed. This is the war we are in because we need to get rid, and I'm saying we as in the White Hats have to get rid of this quote unquote satanic order, the people that have a destruction in mind and all of that. And so Trump has always talked about peace through strength. And so he's solving wars and he's clearing them. And what a lot of people don't realize is that I believe, and many others, is that we are living in some kind of war right now. We are in, if you want to say, Red October. We are living through a time for which there's a cleanup, and all of this is coordinated, especially with the shutdown of the government, because the deep state, these guys, they have basically no access to funds. They've been cut off. And so this is where a lot of this stipulation and this conspiracy, as well as some of the hypothesis is coming from, in that we are at the tail end, or we are in some sense beginning this sort of war. And what's very odd is that Trump has been doing certain things throughout just his time in Asia. And there's been certain news that's very odd, right? So recently, there's a couple of jets and helicopters that basically crashed. And within, I think, 30 minutes, within the same like half hour of each other. And it's just, it's on the news, obviously, but it's kind of going over people's heads because, again, something is happening here for which it's not just, oh, there's some accident and, these military guys, they're so stupid. Why are they crashing like multi-$100 million aircraft? That's just so stupid. But you got to remember, what has Q said this whole time? That we are living in a silent war, right? Q post 1 or 10:30 after a bunch of Thunderbirds basically crashed. This was back in 2018. Q posted, coincidence or silent war? Pray, night Q. And so when there is basically, and there's other posts talking about the silent war. Here you can see, small examples of ongoing silent war and just other things. Post, 158 talking about silent war. Some gets out. Disinformation is necessary. Disinformation is real. The Great Awakening. So there's a lot of talk about this silent war. Now, with regards to some of these aircraft that have basically been, you know, destroyed or whatever it is, QPost 1971 says, you didn't think military planes were falling out of the skies all within a short period of time just by chance, did you? Outside of the standard deviation Q. So this is again posted in August of 2018. And when some of these issues come up, you cannot allow it to go public. Post 4022, it says public truths of some events force wars. Some things are better left untold. So you don't just come out and say, oh, you know what, we were in the middle of, this Cambodian operation to kill a bunch of people, and that's why we had this accident. And it was, just a stupid training accident or whatever. You're not going to tell people what event or what mission it was, but you're going to say, yes, we have to allow certain things to go out, like the men and women that have died in war, and yeah, you have to write it off in some fashion. But this is why Q says, World War III prevent, right? Public truths of some events force war. So you don't just say that. What comes to mind is 2017, the whole Las Vegas shooting, and if you know, you know, but all of the, Saudi Arabia, princes and all that stuff, Mohammed bin Salman, all of that thwarted. You can go down that rabbit hole if you want, but those are things that come to mind. So again, back to this, when people are saying that on the 26th, this was less than, a week ago, like 3-4 days ago, a Seahawk, a helicopter, MH-60R, and as well as a F-18 crashed in the South China Sea. You don't want to rule it out as being, some, foul play and all that stuff. You want to read between the lines and say that's probably, and again, I'm not saying this is for sure. I'm not saying like I know what's going on. I'm just cluing in, reading between the lines and saying, okay, there's some kind of operation happening. We don't know fully what it is, but I just have faith that something's happening and the White Hats are winning because God is winning. Now, there are some things that are public. We have information publicly from the Justice Department, the Department of Justice of Public Affairs, talking about, and I've talked about this before, of this $15 billion operation in Cambodia of forced labor scams, compounds, cryptocurrency fraud schemes of money laundering, the Prince Group indicted. All of these things are publicly being declared on a low-key kind of basis. And this is coming from the Treasury, but it's saying U.S. and U.K. target largest action ever targeting cyber criminal networks in Southeast Asia. And so this, again, is public information, meaning that they are declaring these things are happening. But we don't see all of the intricacies of the military action because there is a sense of secrecy, a clandestine effort that's needed to allow the continuity of the operations to happen without it interrupting and disrupting certain things because it's going to anger the general public, as well as thwart the overall, nature and sequence of whatever events is happening. And so what we are seeing right now, I believe, is sort of the tail end of all of the efforts of cutting off some of the Asian countries from the deep state. And the deep state is congratulating and helping Trump as well as coordinating with this new, recovery plan in terms of moving forward with the next phase. That's why a lot of these guys are nominating Trump for the Peace Prize, right? The Nobel Peace Prize, as well as many other things. And so I want to go over a couple of other things. There are people in China right now reporting that a lot of anomalies are happening. So this channel, China Observer, is talking about how a lot of netizens are showing like these vehicles on the street, like these military vehicles are all over, converging on Beijing, and there's all of these different things where some evidence is being shown of a lot of military movement, and they're showing, and this channel does well to kind of report on certain things, but a lot of high-ranking leaders have either been removed or something quietly of some kind of reshuffling is happening of some of these guys, and they do a good job talking about this that not a lot of Western media is talking about, but people are noticing that a lot of troops are moving. And so I don't know what this is. And of course, people can, say, oh, it's Taiwan, and but they're converging in Beijing as well as other inner cities. And so again, is it sort of like the US where there's a cleanup of the deep state where a lot of people are waiting for the EBS as well as just some of this stuff? But again, this is a battle of certain countries, of nationalism versus globalism. And I've said before, it's not about, like Trump versus Xi and like Putin versus Trump and these guys. It's about the fact that these countries, even though you don't agree with their ideology, I don't agree with communism and CCP and all that stuff, but they have a common enemy. As I've said before, their common enemy is they don't want control from these external, Illuminati families or whoever with all this money because of the federal banking system and being stuck to, in debt and all that stuff. That's the control they have over these people. The same goes for certain religions. The Middle East, these guys, what they're celebrating, what they want is removal, nationalism, control back to their country. And this is what they're fighting all together because they have a common enemy that's even more evil than what we, and again, I don't agree with a lot of the ideology of certain countries, of course, Islam and these guys, but they first and foremost have a higher power that they're all trying to fight against, which is globalism. And this is what the war is about. And again, this sounds like some crazy dark conspiracy, but as Q has said before, post 4915, a deep dark world is being exposed. The truth won't be for everyone. Have faith in humanity. And of course, here in post 142 as well as post 111, the truth would put 99% of people in the hospital. The complete picture would put 99% of Americans, the world, in a hospital, right? It must be controlled. Operators are active. We are at war. So I'm just calling your attention to the overarching narrative that's being questioned in the sense of, yeah, we're seeing, trade, we're seeing deals, Trump is making certain things, but why is it that certain anomalies are happening? It's not something to just be writing off and saying, oh yeah, it's just, accidents and just kind of crazy stuff. But what if they are winning right now? They're cleaning house right now. And some of the results publicly is that, yes, we're moving on to the next stage, peace through strength. So be encouraged, guys. A lot of things are happening, and I'm going to do a series of videos because I have my computer back now, but stay tuned. I also want to mention, I really want to do a final push to meet our goal for our fundraiser. You guys know that I'm fighting a big battle legally in terms of free speech, freedom of religion. There's many things I need support for, as well as for me and my team, as well as just all of the missions and various things that I'm doing. All of the information is in the link down below, givesendgo.com/chrisyoonyt. We're only a few $1,000s away. I would love it if we can close it out, move forward, and I would love your guys' final support to get it over the edge. Guys, I'm really trying to push for it for these next few days, this next week. Hopefully we can get to that goal. Love you guys. Talk to you guys very soon.